Hello, and welcome to CSJ News with our annual show of the best news of 2017. Now to Craig with war and political news.
So, on April 14th in 2017 in Afghanistan, the U.S. military has dropped the most powerful non-nuclear bomb on ISIS in Afghanistan. This weaponry has been in the U.S. arsenal since 2003, and it was finally used in 2017. This is a top story because it's the first time the U.S. has used this kind of weapon. This impacted a lot of people in the U.S. because a lot of people believe that we shouldn't have done it. It also impacted people in other countries because it shows Donald Trump's new views on terrorists. And over to Stephen with more war and political news.
This story for us in war and unrest comes from North Korea. The tensions between North Korea and the United States are nothing new, but in 2017, they have risen to a new level. With North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un on the quest for nuclear weapons and the U.S. not wanting anything like that creates a sticky situation. As a war of words ensued and talks of military action on both sides amounted to no actual confrontation, we are still in the midst of a waiting game. It is thought that new policies by world leaders from China and the U.S. may increase the pressure put on Kim Jong-un. If it is not effective, a war could break out that could be disastrous because of nuclear weapons. This affects millions of people and is a very hot story. Now to Jack.
All right, our story involving business and political news is going to be about now President Donald Trump. At the time, President-elect Trump's incoming administration will be more favorable to corporate mergers. Experts and business groups believe making a sharp shift from the Obama years. But one wild card may be Trump himself. The president-elect has signaled his opposition to the biggest deal on the table, AT&T's proposed merger with Time Warner. Still, many see signs of more relaxed oversight ahead. The incoming administration is also still getting on its feet, and there are many key positions to be filled that would have an important role in merger policy. Now back to Craig.
Sunday, February 26th in Hollywood, California, La La Land was announced the best film winner at the 2017 Oscars, but then had to hand over the award to Moonlight after a mistake was noticed in what was the most dramatic moment in the history of the Academy Awards. In my opinion, this is a top story because the Oscars is a very well-known award ceremony and they made a huge mistake. This impacted a lot of people because people placed bets on La La Land and they didn't actually win. Back to Steve with his next top story.
Our next top story is politics and world leaders and is a very big story because Donald Trump was inaugurated on January 21st. Trump began his term at the beginning of the year and has had a rocky 100 days. His inauguration speech was attended by an unspecified number of people, but pictures show it had less than Obama's 8 years prior. At this time, many people came to the realization that it was official that Trump had actually won, and it was the beginning of a new era in America. This story has affected all of Americans and not just the people that voted for him. It was one of the most talked about events of the new year and was watched by many people. It also left many people feeling uncertain about what the future could hold for America and if they still fit in that view of America. Now to Jack.
On Monday, May 1st, 2017, SpaceX successfully landed its Falcon 9 rocket on solid ground after its launch from Cape Canaveral, Florida. This is now the 4th time the company has landed one of its rockets on solid land, and the 10th time that they have recovered one of their rockets post-launch. Eventually, SpaceX hopes to use its landed Falcon 9 rockets more frequently and drastically decrease turnaround time from the vehicle's landing to another mission. This is the first mission that SpaceX has done for the U.S. military, however. But after receiving certification to launch satellites for the Air Force in 2015. Since this was a national security launch, not much is known about the purpose of the mission or the satellite's intended orbit. We're excited to see where this story goes from here. Now back to Craig.
Tuesday, February 7th in New Orleans, Louisiana. Severe thunderstorms and tornadoes passed through and damaged NASA's assembly facility, which is one of the largest manufacturing plants in the world that the space agency uses to create parts and for its rockets and spacecrafts. In my opinion, this is a top weather story because of how big NASA's assembly facility is and how much it does, and it was damaged in some spots, although only a few people were injured. This impacted the astronauts because they can't fly, and the people who build rockets because their supplies are damaged. Now, Stephen, tell us about Trump's immigration policy.
All right, our next story comes from the topic of law, and it's still about Donald Trump. Donald Trump signed an executive order on January 27th banning entry for 90 days by citizens from Iraq, Syria, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. The order also indefinitely halts refugees from Syria. However, the ban was fought and judges deemed it unconstitutional and ended up halting it. After a reissue of the ban without Iraq on the list and another court shooting it down, this created a fierce hatred and fight between Trump and the courts that has lasted throughout the first 100 days of his presidency. This story was one of the first failures and controversial moments of Trump's presidency. It created two very opposite sides and has created an even more divisive America. It showed Trump was going to follow through on some of his more radical campaign promises, and in this order, he affected millions of people, and not just Muslims specifically. Now to Jack with our last story of 2017.
In 2017, a lot of historic stories came out of the sporting world, but the strangest by far came out from this past year's Super Bowl was the disappearance of Tom Brady's Super Bowl jersey after the Patriots' historic 25-point comeback. After the game, the Patriots quarterback suddenly realized his game jersey went missing while in the locker room. The NFL has officially stated that the missing jersey had been found and recovered. This is the second time, however, that Brady had lost a game-worn Super Bowl jersey. According to one report, the jerseys were found in Mexico. At the time, Brady's missing jersey seemed like just a simple mistake someone had made. But the next day, when it was still missing and Brady was making jokes about seeing it show up on eBay, everyone started to believe that maybe there's more to this story than what it seemed to be on the surface. It was all fun and games. Even Brady joked about a suspect list until everyone realized the jersey might be worth north of $500,000. There's a strong chance if the FBI is involved, as they reportedly have been, that we could see some sort of serious prosecution happening here.
Wow, that was a lot of great stories, and it's only May. Can't wait to see the rest of 2017 and what it brings. Thank you, signing off from CSJ News.
Thank you.
Thank you.